It's very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Get that crowd warmed up. Is Mr. Jehovah Tiger.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another edition of the Warcry Podcast. I'm your host, Jehovah Tiger, and on this edition, we're going to be ruining some childhood. We're going to be deep diving into some of our childhood memories, some of our childhood movies, some of our favorite childhood moments. We're going to be talking about dark or sinister, mysterious, or dare I say, malicious. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be diving into some Disney theories. They've been going around for a long time. And one thing that's kind of crazy, as you think about Disney, and, there's always been, especially Walt Disney. And as as information comes out, because obviously we're in the information era, Walt Disney, allegedly, had some ties or some dealings with the Nazi Party back in the 30s. There was even I believe, a Mickey Mouse Nazi cartoon that was floating around on the dark web there for a while. It's kind of crazy. We got, Mickey Mouse and all his characters. But one thing about that theory, though, is that, there was a lot of comings and goings. And I think in 1934, there was a German filmmaker, and I don't want to butcher the name, so I ain't even going to say it, but he was a German filmmaker who was a part of the Nazi Party. He helped with the propaganda. And, Walt Disney's like, yeah, come on down to, our Disneyland, and we'll give you a tour, and we'll let you see what's going on and how we make our films. And so that, that theory, and really, I guess that really happened, kind of helped the Nazi Party kind of figure out how they're going to basically mass produce and kind of pull it together, the strings of their propaganda. And now there's another theory that really Walt Disney helped them, but he didn't really want to promote, because I believe Walt Disney was of Jewish descent. I believe, I could be wrong, but that's alleged. But that he didn't really want any part of that, and so he basically kind of was like, yeah, you can do a tour, blah blah blah, and then send them on their way. Who knows? But the guy as a whole, we've heard stories, going, are coming from basically artists who have done, our favorite cartoons and anime and whatever you want to call it, motion capture, whatever it is, and artists who have worked on these projects. And, the Disney company is kind of brutal. They kind of don't really treat people well. And a story that I believe I saw back a couple years ago about a time where there was an artist or artists who basically were putting wieners and things like that into different dang, I sounded like I was I didn't want to say it though, but they're putting certain parts of the human anatomy on screen, and it was caught, and those people were then fired. And a lot of people, a lot of those artists were kind of from that old generation where they kind of, that's how they did their pranks and whatnot. So in the original Disney films, you'll see different kind of weird, double entendres when it comes to some of the animation and some of the cartoon artwork. And you'll see different images of different anatomy parts. I know that there was one in The Little Mermaid. I know Lion King had one up in the sky as it rolled the entrance of the Lion King. But one thing that's kind of crazy about all that is the actual movies themselves. And one thing that I think my generation, millennials, we do this deep dive thing where we want to know what's going on at every point in time, and how this is explained, why this happened. We want to know answers to things that maybe we don't understand, or maybe there is no explanation. But that's kind of what we do as a generation. And a movie, has its meanings, and it has, a way of telling a story. And, over the last couple years, I've started kind of look at some of these Disney theories that kind of ruined my childhood, but kind of ruined that made me think of the movies differently. And the first movie I'm going to be talking about, this is a classic. It brings a tear to my eye because it's such a great and legendary movie. It's a newer movie. And one of the songs is I've been standing at the water. And I don't know the rest of the words after that. I kind of just mumble along. And I don't even know if I even got those right. But Moana. So this movie, came out. Everyone loved it. The songs are keen. The storyline is immaculate. There are no plot holes in this movie. Amazing movie, 5-star movie, Disney Channel or Disney movie. But there's a theory, that's been circulating over the last couple of years. And as we look at the scope of the movie, and they tell us things that maybe are not there, in the out front. So at the beginning of the movie, you guys remember, if you haven't seen it, you better go watch it, or I'm spoiling this for you. But if at the beginning of the movie, when Moana finally decides to make her journey to find Te Fiti in Maui to return the heart of Te Fiti, she can't sail a boat. She is atrocious. She don't know what she's doing. She don't know where she's going. And the only thing guiding her is the water. If you guys remember, there is a big storm, bad storm. Her boat is capsized and she is thrown into the water. If you guys remember that scene, the theory going around is that during that storm, Moana died. And when she landed on the island where Maui was, there's different parts of that island that tell you that maybe she is not in our world anymore. Because every turn she makes, there's another monster or another nemesis or an enemy around her. She gets to the island, and Maui tries to steal her boat. And this is what's another thing that's kind of interesting. Her boat was, basically tore up, but when she gets on the island, it's just sitting on the bank. Interesting. So we go deeper into this. Let's just say hypothetically Moana did pass away and she died in the storm. We look at the rest of the movie. She fights off the coconut people. She fights off the crab, which, hey, that's a legendary song. I'm shining. Oh yeah, classic. But if we look at the rest of the movie, she is basically fighting a hero's battle all the way to the end, to where she realizes in her heart of heart that she needs to return it, and she needs to basically surrender to this Te Fiti monster and allow it to cross the ocean. Now, there's a metaphor with that too, as well, that volcanoes erupt because there's a disturbance in of nature, and that's kind of another metaphor for that. But if you notice, when Te Fiti gets her heart back, everything goes back to being beautiful, and Moana is kind of thrusted by that magical power, and she ends up back at her home. But if you also remember throughout the movie, she's having these dreams of these people losing her. Moana, where did you go? Moana. Her dad and everything around her is dying. So that's a crazy theory that Moana died, and basically she's in the afterlife, or in the demigod world, fighting this battle between all of these different deities or monsters. And that basically, and there's another theory too that I saw, that Te Fiti was actually Moana, because they look similar. I don't know if I believe that one, but it's kind of crazy to go down these deep dives on all of these different theories. The next movie, it's a very sad movie. It might be one of the most sad Disney movies to date, is the movie Up. Now, there are multiple different ways that you can look at this movie. In the movie, and the theory goes, is that they suggest basically that the night after he gets his offer, that the old man Carl dies. From then, he then rises up to the afterworld, basically shown by the balloons, like if you guys remember in the movie, obviously the movie Up, the balloons, and that Russell is his protective angel, the little boy. And basically, Russell is on a path as a guardian angel, as a protective angel, that he needs to gather his patches to become a full-fledged angel. And his final test was preparing the old man, Carl, basically to lead him into the afterlife. And once he earns his badge, his training is complete, and he will become a full-fledged guardian angel. And basically, the theory kind of goes on to say that the house represents Carl's attachment to the real world, and reaching Paradise Falls is Carl's perceived crossing over to reunite with Ellie, his wife who passed in the early part of the movie. I also kind of heard or saw that like the movie is basically almost like a metaphor for heaven, essentially, like people that do not want to go, like do not want to pass away, and like needing someone, not like really an angel, but like needing a push up. I don't know. I mean, I saw that theory too, or there's different theories about that, but that's a very interesting that basically there's a whole metaphor for a protective angel. And I can see it, but man, I can't describe to you how sad like that first 10 minutes is. It's brutal, but such a good movie, and that's the movie Up. The next theory that we're going to be talking about, and this is kind of a wild one, and everybody loves the movie Frozen. Everybody loves the movie Frozen, but the theory suggests that that Anna and Elsa are not actually sisters, but cousins, and that Rapunzel is Elsa's sister, twin sister to be exact. So the question, that kind of connects the two is where basically did Elsa get her power? And there's a part in the movie where the mother's like, hey, the question was asked where she got her power. She, oh, well, doesn't really answer. And if you notice that, Rapunzel also got her powers from a magical flower that her mother drank when she was sick. But we also don't know, like, basically where Elsa's came from. But it is believed, and this theory suggests, that Elsa got her powers from Rapunzel's mother as well, and the two were actually twins. When Rapunzel was kidnapped from their parents, the parents sent Elsa to stay with her cousin Anna. Now this explains why Iduna and Agnar, Anna's parents, were unable to answer the rock trolls when asked where Elsa got her powers. Basically that they are actually, of the same, they're sisters. Now, I wonder, I think that the Disney universe is connected. I definitely think, because we'll see, there's a theory, that about Monsters, Inc., that basically Sully and Mike Wachowski helped Blue, basically the little girl, essentially, travel through the doors, and now she's like the old lady in Rapunzel. I've seen that theory. I don't know if I believe that one, but there's in Brave, or I'm sorry, that the little girl is actually the witch in Brave, because the witch is able to send, the girl, I can't remember her name, the girl in Brave to another, place and transform her mother into a bear, which is kind of crazy. But that's the theory, that basically Mike Wachowski and Sully essentially showed the little girl in Monsters, Inc. that she can then go through these doors to hit different parallel universes. And she got stuck in the one where Brave is. And her whole time is trying to figure out how to get back to that. And also, too, that the witch in Brave is also, or could be, the witch in Rapunzel. I don't know. But you'll see in different movies that, like for instance, like Sully from Monsters, Inc. is shown in the, on like one of the mugs one of the mugs in Brave, or on the side of a table in Brave. In different movies he's shown, and I wonder if it is connected. Like, I think one day Disney needs to just like come together and do like a 4-hour-long movie and just connect all these movies. Like, oh hey, there's Mike Wachowski, like he's jumping through, he's scared, or Mike Wachowski scared the little girl became this person, this little person affected that person, and now here we are. We're like at the end. It's crazy. But the next movie I'm going to be talking about is, like I said, another sad one, but if you think about Finding Nemo, in the very beginning of the movie, when Nemo's mother dies, a theory suggests that it basically changes the entire film. The theory suggests that there are no survivors in the Barracuda attack on the family, and that Marlin's vision of Nemo, which Nemo in Latin means nobody, was just a figment of his grief. That is crazy. Because, like, that Barracuda attack, I remember being like a young kid and being like, oh, like shaking me to my core, being so shook. And for that to like change the entire movie to being like, oh wow, he's just, he's basically stricken with grief, is brutal, man. Golly. Next theory I have is about Snow White. Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Now, when you hear Seven Dwarves, to me, that sounds a lot like the Seven Deadly Sins. And Snow White is essentially innocence. And when she's cast into the spell and the dwarves surround her, the theory suggests that the dwarves are not really her friends per se, but they are the embodiment of the seven deadly sins, and that they are trying to, I guess, the nasty way, it's nasty work, is to corrupt Snow White. Now, that's kind of a crazy theory, and it's a super dark theory, but that's been tossed around for quite a few years. But that one's a very interesting theory. The next theory, now this one, and this is an old school movie for those of you who enjoy these types of movies, or like the old school movies such as Peter Pan. Now, if you guys have heard, and this has been going around for quite some time, but Peter Pan was written back in the original manuscript for Peter Pan was written in 1913. And I've done so much kind of watching of videos and reading articles and trying to figure out like what's going on with Peter Pan. Because to me, growing up, when I was watching, obviously Hook with Robin Williams, you got the original Peter Pan, you got the new Peter. I've never seen the new Peter Pan, but the two older ones with Robin Williams and the older Peter Pan. I don't know, Peter Pan kind of seemed like he kind of sus a little bit. Be honest with y'all. You're going to basically con kids into going to Neverland where they never grow up, or lost kids. And a theory about Peter Pan, in those movies and in the original manuscript, is that basically Peter Pan is kind of a cold-blooded murderer. He's a serial killer. And basically, he realizes that sometimes these kids grow up and these kids change. And in the original manuscript, in the original book called Peter and Wendy, written in 1913, Peter admits to ridding or culling the herd when it comes to these kids. Now, the original book is basically written word for word in the movie, the old school movie. And there's a line that Hook, and I cannot remember the exact line, but basically it says, basically Hook talks about taking children, and getting away with it, and that Captain Hook is the ultimate bad guy and the ultimate villain in this book and in these movies. But there's another theory with the questionable character of Peter Pan that Captain Hook is actually the bad guy, or I'm sorry, that Captain Hook is actually the good guy. He's the true hero. And that the theory suggests that he is on basically a mission and a obsession to prevent Peter from kidnapping innocent children from their homes. And in the original book, that he is stealing kids from a park in New York City. But this idea and this theory is really, to me, believable. Because if you think about it, you'll notice throughout the movie, Hook never goes after the children. Now, he holds them hostage. He keeps them tied down, but he really never goes after the children. And the theory that he wants them to walk the plank is essentially him realizing that these kids have Stockholm syndrome so much about Peter that there's no saving them. And that's why he wants them to walk the plank. But he also, like I said, just goes after Peter in that. And this theory suggests that basically Hook's pirates are actually children who have been saved from Peter Pan. And another part of that is that Peter is a metaphor for, we talk, and I don't want to, the trafficking thing of children. I don't really want to go into that, but that's been made the comparison, because when we look at the Epstein Island, we look at Neverland Island, and that they say that that's been going on for a lot of years, and this is the metaphor for that, and that Peter Pan is, oh man, it's getting dark, but basically, Peter Pan says, you'll never grow up, and they say that those victims who have been that's happened to them, where they've been taken and done things to, that they never grow up in their mind. And so that's why I think Peter Pan is the real villain in those movies. Man, kind of moving on, to the final movie we're going to talk about. There's so many Disney theories, like I can't describe to you how many Disney movie theories. But the last movie we're going to talk about is a recent movie, and it's my two daughters' favorite movie, and it has some of the greatest songs. But it's Encanto, And this theory suggests that when Maribel when she got her gift without knowing her gift. And in the movie, they always ask her, "What's your gift? What's your gift?" The little kids at the beginning of the movie, and she's like, she goes into the song where, where she's just describing each one of her family members' gifts, and they said, "What's your gift?" And she's like, "Oh, I can't reveal that." The theory suggests that that Maribel, when she touched the doorknob, she had her gift, and her gift is the ability to bend reality around her. So if you look through the movie, each person that does their song, like the sisters, like the strong one, "I'm the strong one, I'm not nervous," blah blah. I don't know the rest of the words. But anyways, that is Maribel's. That's Maribel bending the reality of her sister. You look at the flowers. And Maribel basically trying to get Isabella to not be under the control of the grandmother and the grandmother's wants and what the grandmother wants from the kids. And she bends her sister Isabella to her will. And the theory suggests that she realizes that the grandmother is really, she's the one breaking the family up because there's such high expectations for them. And that she is basically bending the reality of her grandmother being the one that doesn't think Maribel's good enough, and that's creating a reality for Maribel, which to me is kind of crazy. It is a good theory, but basically another part of the theory is that that the movie is not a musical, and that Maribel just imagines that she is in one, and then everyone is forced to sing. So all the crazy visuals during the songs are not just artistic representations of the themes. They're actually doing, and this is actually happening, as Maribel's interpretation of the song literally bends reality around her, And so it's kind of crazy. That's kind of interesting because if you think about it, everything is fixed at the end because Maribel finally comes to peace with her grandmother. And everything, the house gets rebuilt and the house comes back to life. And one thing, too, we notice about the movie that the house, comes to her aid. The house doesn't want her to be injured in the rubble when the house is falling apart. But it's very interesting. There's theories out there about this TV shows, Hannah Montana, that her father in the show, that her father bought her friends, and that's why her friends always, kind of act like they don't really care a lot of times. Another theory is that her dad is actually the one who is manufacturing, the music, like it's not really her, and that also Miley Stewart in the show, that she actually is envisioning this entire show, like none of it's real. And so when she puts on the wig, she imagines herself as Hannah Montana, but she's really not. And so Disney has all types of kind of crazy things, and something that kind of came to my attention, while recording this, is that and the new, I don't know if you guys have seen this, it's on HBO Max, but I think it's ID channel or Investigate, whatever. They came out with Quiet on the Set, and now that's Nickelodeon, but it had come out that one of the producers of Drake and Josh worked on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and worked on the movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf, and that Shia LaBeouf had been abused by this guy at Disney. And so there's all types of crazy stuff that Disney has, there's, things that had happened at Disney. And some of the movies, and TV shows that have come out. And if you guys have any other theories, or if you have heard a theory, or if you guys want to correct me on a theory, maybe I, misread it. Sometimes my second grade reading level just ain't what it used to be, But if you guys have any other kind of weird Disney theories about the movies and whatnot, please comment, below, or reach out to me. I'd like to hear them. We may do a part 2. I mean, like I said, there's so many weird connected things. It's kind of dark, mysterious type of theories. The next kind of cartoon conspiracy that we'll do, I'll do Cartoon Network. There are quite a few Cartoon Network. If you guys are originally the cable kids, Channel 58 was Cartoon Network. It had Samurai Jack, Powderpuff Girls, all these different other shows, Dexter's Laboratory. There's all types of those theories about those shows, and I will be doing a specific one about Cartoon Network. Eventually, I'll get to Nickelodeon. I might even get into some other stuff too when it comes to those cartoon conspiracies. But I appreciate everyone has continued to support the podcast. Make sure you get you a T-shirt. Redbubble.com/WarCryPod. The link is down below. Get yourself something nice. I want to say that Father's Day special is here. Like, it's coming. So get yourself a T-shirt at a discounted rate, and make sure that you get yourself something nice. I'll have a new design coming out. I think I'm gonna do something Bigfoot related. Thought might have to do something kind of cheesy, but we'll see what happens. But like I said, guys, Yahola Tiger, Facebook, Warcry Pod on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not diligent on Instagram at all, so if you want to reach out to me, do it on Facebook or TikTok. I mean, I'm bad about TikTok too, but the main place, if you want to get a hold of me, is message me on Facebook, add me on Facebook, let me know, that you listen to the pod, and then YouTube, Warcry Podcast, and I believe that's it. And I appreciate you supporting the podcast and listening and sharing and like and subscribing and doing all that thing, and I'm going to catch you on the next one.